hopefully now that everyone's here, you'll really get to know each other. And the purpose of our short course really is, again, in 1 week, are you going to become a novice to an expert? No. But what you do create is a community of people here. Hopefully in this cohort you've made contacts. All of you are across the nation. A few of them you're coming across the pond from Europe. And what that allows you to do is also do peer learning. So what we find that not only do you want an expert in your back pocket, but you want to know what your peers are doing. And hopefully this network really proceeds forward in your career. So here we are. I unfortunately don't have the opposite image where we are in Harlem all the way up over here. But the person who you see running around in back, Swapnil, did take a helicopter ride down and took this picture right outside. He also has another one which I'm not going to show of him skydiving. So where are we? We are at the New York Structural Biology Center. The New York Structural Biology Center houses not only NCCAT, but a whole host of other centers. We focus on structural biology. Again, our two aims really are to lower the barriers of access to instrumentation, as well as do cross-training, because what we need to do is ensure that the next generation of scientists love cryo-EM. That they're cognizant of the other structural biology and modalities, but they really do love cryo-EM. I did mention this. You're going to probably hit you over the head across the week with what this program is. It's an NIH Common Fund program that sponsors NCCAT, and actually 7 centers right now and 5 more that come in the coming year. What are all these service centers? What are all these centers doing? Well, actually, only 3 of them are service centers, and NCCAT is one of them. We have 2 other sister sites, PNCC in Portland and S2C2 in Stanford. In addition, we have 4 curriculum development sites. CrowdVR is here in the back room, and later today you'll hear more about them, as well as Fred. Later in the week he'll come. So the main idea is that the service centers are centers where we have instrumentation. The curriculum development is programs to help you learn about the art and science of cryo-EM. And the reason why we invited 2 of them here today is that it really is a concerted program, because we all are trying to work together. And so whether you get served from us or someone else, it depends on your career goals and where you are. And we really want to help you. On site this week, we have a whole host of people here to help you. Today, again, it'll be quite obvious to see who's who, because a lot of our operations staff are wearing these SIMSI hoodies. And right after lunch, I'll put mine on, just so there's no mistake of who we are. And a lot of these people are cryo-EM experts. Not only do they do cryo-EM day in, day out, they'll be on tap for the practicals. And the practicals, especially today and tomorrow, are meant to be as hands-on as possible. So the reason why I asked you to what the Wi-Fi is, if you have a cell phone or a computer, please, not all of you can connect, that's fine, but if you can, go to SIMSI Guest Workshop as the Wi-Fi and find this link. This link, we're just going to, this whole flash talk, this whole roundtable is really to get to know your colleagues. Why? Because this group of people, hopefully, are people that you'll know throughout your career, and you'll get to know better throughout this week. Okay, so there is a site for a direct poll. We'll see if this works. Yes. I'll have to mirror my screen. So here's that link. No, you don't see that. I'll put it back up quite soon. I'm just going to have to mirror my displays. Monitor displays, arrangements, mirror displays. Okay, so it's that link, etc.ch/D, capital HFD. That's the link. Unfortunately, the QR code decided to hide away. But see if you can get there. And if you can get there right now, something will come up. Well, no is a yes in my book. I put that. Well, I was expecting more people saying what's going on because they have no idea what's going on, and that's okay. Again, if you can't find what that link is, it's over here in very small. So you can always connect as we go along. Okay, I think we have a critical mass of people, and we'll go next. And so what is this? I'm going to take a poll, and I want to get a better idea of who's in the room, and this will prep you, because quite soon after this, what we're going to do is we're going to do flash talks where everyone will have 60 to 90 seconds to introduce themselves. Given the crowdedness of the room, we'll just have you stand where you are, and I'll forward you the slides, because it'll be a mess if every minute someone's going to try to circle around. Okay. Really, no PIs? I thought there was at least one PI. Okay, but this is very useful, so you know that the majority, I guess, about half of us here are postdocs, so that means mid-career. So now this question is, what is your primary field of study? Now, if you choose the first one, then you're really hardcore EM, because that's the only thing you do. You don't do anything else but EM. You can actually vote for more than one selection. So usually from the surveys that I know, a lot of people are coming from structural biology. A lot of people are in the biophysical fields, if not in the biomedical fields. But this will help you know that how many people are really just using structural biology as their main forte and your main technique versus other types. So it seems that the group that we have here are primarily structural biologists in general. And biochemistry was only instantly to do more structure, right? Looking at this poll, I'm going to feed forward. Now, of the people here, how much do you use EM today?
Is there, how do you fix it when the poll stops?
When the poll stops, you
I
can.
just reloaded everything.
You just reload. It's a little bit slow because I'll slow down, and then that's probably because so many people are trying to connect at once. Well, throughout the day, we'll see how well our internet Wi-Fi holds up. Usually during workshops, we do our best to just bring the whole network down. Well, what really happens is like you have your laptop, your phone, times 20, so that's already 40 IPs, and then everyone else trying to hop on that network. During the computer practicals, what we'll try to do is we'll try to have a router in the center of this table to augment if anyone wants a hard line in. Okay, so it seems that there's a positive thing that everyone uses EM in some sort, and it's actually better that no one uses only EM, because you want some balance, even though 75 to 99% seems quite high to me. I don't even know if I do 75 to 99% EM today. Okay. So something that will be relevant tomorrow is everyone will have some hands-on on EM, but of the people here, how many have actually touched an EM and used it? Can be any type of EM, because the next question I'm going to ask you is what type of EM? Now again, if you only have 2-hour contact time on an EM, I don't expect you to be an expert, but maybe you'll know what you don't know and know what you need to know. Okay. I'm going to go a little bit fast. Maybe some people haven't fully all answered the question, but that's okay. Now, some of you, about half of you said you've actually touched EM. What type of EM was that? Did you use something that, like a Krios, or did you use an SEM? Occasionally we have people using SEMs. We have a couple SEMs here. They're quite useful instruments. Okay, so it's a good split. I didn't have the option where you can vote for multiple ones, or does this one allow for multiple ones? It does allow for multiple ones? Okay. Okay, so we'll feed forward here. Now this is going to help us as we go along through the week, and we will ask you 4 more questions about your proficiency. So the first one is, have you done sample prep negative stain specifically? And then the next question will be on cryo. So this is only if you've done negative stain. Something that's quite different nowadays days. When I was classically trained, it was assumed you would always do negative stain before you moved on to cryo. And that was due to the resources required. And the real ask was not to do negative stain for the sake of negative stain. It was say, do you understand your sample of interest? Nowadays days, there's been a growing number of people who don't do negative stain, and they're rewarded with a 2-angstrom structure for doing that. Is that good or bad? I'm not sure. We'll talk about that, and hopefully you'll know everyone's viewpoint. So now here is cryo specifically, and I expect these numbers to be much higher in terms of proficiency versus negative stain. And it's just a growing trend that we've been noticing, not only with our regional users, but across the nation. Okay. Something that's going to be a little bit more relevant for the remainder of the week. How proficient do you think you are in collecting data? So now that could be a different model where there are a lot more of these centers going around where you don't have to know alignments, where you don't have to fully even touch the microscope in the sense the physical actual microscope, and all you're doing is looking data streaming. And it's very similar to if I go to the beamline, yeah, maybe I'll loop a crystal, but beyond that, you're not really touching anything on that process, and you just get data out on the other end. And so that's not surprising that a lot of people are more in the beginner stage of data collection. Then there's this other part of processing. How do you fare with that? Some labs have actually segmented each of these processes where it's not necessarily a factory model, but in the sense that someone's really good at molecular biology, they're working with the sample. Someone's just designated, like that beamline scientist, to go out and really collect data. And the rest, they could have the separate group that does the data processing. There's a growing trend now that you need not know the full workflow to be proficient in that workflow, because each part is getting easier and easier and easier, that you can make use of it as a tool and that anyone can push a button. The question though is, can we make that button for you to push? Now this is something that's curious. How much training is required before people are effective? Now, we see that many people take multiple workshops, and the reason being is what I just mentioned before. If all I need to do for the next 2 years is processing, I only need to take a processing workshop. Oh, now I have another project, now I actually need to make samples, then I'll take more training in that. That's the modularity that EM is heading towards, that people can have very high impact papers, can do quite a bit of science without knowing the whole workflow, and need not ever need to learn the whole workflow. Same with any other structural biology technique. In X-ray crystallography, how many people can recite all, the whole book of symmetry groups? How many people can derive Fourier transforms? There are few, but how many people can look at a Fourier transform and say, I see that, that looks like a very nice person with a hat. I mean, there was one EMBO course where they did that, where they had instructors in the back and they kept on showing Fourier transforms, like, oh, that's a duck, that's a that. They're a ringer, because no one really looks in Fourier space quite readily, or very few people do that. And so why I'm mentioning this is that in most of the other structural biology fields that's mature, you need not create extra hurdles for you to jump through to be able to be effective. Now, this will segue straight in to what's going to happen next, which will be our flash talks. We're all strangers. Okay. You have a friend in me because now you all know me, but then you'll get to know everyone else. So the hope is that at the end of the workshop, I'm going to do the same poll, and I hope that this flips around and that you do know your fellow students. I think that's the last of the poll. At the end of the workshop, a couple of things that we'll do is we'll have a list of all the attendees, so you can talk to each other, hopefully after, or if you're enemies, then you'll know who to block. Okay, but that will never be the case because you'll all become friends. Okay, so this is going to be quite ambitious. What we're going to try to do is I'm going to set my phone for 90 seconds. You need not take 90 seconds, but at 1 minute, I'll give you a 1 minute warning. And then at the end of that, we'll switch to the next person. Now, given the shape of the room, you're not going to walk up because we don't want that extra hassle. Yes.
Because I have a pointer here.
Yeah.
And
Oh, the
maybe
pointers
we
won't
just-
work on this monitor. You can even try it. So one,
Yeah,
the
it's
advantage
not
of
about
technology.
the pointing part, but it can
Oh, you
also
mean a
change
fluff,
slides,
clicker.
because that's quite an
Oh, great.
interactive
So I can take
slider.
the USB adapter.
There's a USB in there.
And we can pass this around.
Yeah.
And
But
then you
also
can
have to
forward.
switch it on. There's on the side. There's an on switch.
That's perfect. That's a great suggestion. And then so then you can forward your own slides, and I can pass the baton.
I have a quick question about these.
Yes.
guys. What is the objective?
The objective is to break the ice and force you to. Yes.
Just cry at you. We want us.
We don't want the there's this technique where you can freeze just a little bit warm, so we can thaw a little bit and have a better data collection because there'll be samples that won't necessarily move so much when you have the beam
You can
induced.
do that in EM too?
So there are techniques we can talk about it in the afternoon, but so normally when you freeze, what temperature do you want to freeze, and how fast do you want to freeze? You need a certain rate to outcompete an ordered form of ice, but there's more than one ordered. Hexagonal ice is just one of them. There's about, I don't know, there's like 16. There's if you look at the table, some chemists will or physicists will be able to correct me how many forms of ordered ice, ordered water rather, there can be. Crystalline ice is the most damaging, but someone here has shown that you can take, oh, Misha's in the room, he has taken one completely crystalline ice image and been able to solve a sub-3 angstrom reconstruction from that, if you have enough asymmetric units. Okay, so then the pointer is, I want to go down to move feet forward. Okay, so some of you have submitted slides, some of you have not. So the people who just have the title slide will be this check. That's just for me. So Amelia, where are you? There you go. So hit down, we'll pass the baton to you. Give me a moment to set my timer. And you can stand just to have all eyes on you. So I'm going to actually not introduce everyone because what I could do is I could butcher your name, and something else is you could pronounce your name something completely different. So then first you introduce yourself, and I'll try my best at recapitulating whatever I heard.
Okay.
Okay. So why don't you go?
My legal name is Amelia Arturo. However, nobody has called me Amelia since I came to the U.S. From Romania, and Amelia Bedelia was a big thing. So everyone has called me Emily.
Emily.
So you may call me Emily. I do come from La Jolla at the La Jolla Institute for Immunology, where I'm a first-year postdoc in Erica Ullman Sapphire's lab, who gave us these sweatshirts, which I wore with an Ebola virus on the airplane, which was always a silly thought. We do study viral proteins from glycoproteins that we can use in vaccine development and therapeutic treatments for not only Ebola virus, but for flu, coronavirus, measles, really everything. We're a huge lab of 25 to 30 people who are based mostly in crystallography, as I am. I was a mathematician who somehow ended up studying an enzyme that takes on many shapes and never crystallized, and so I dreamed of EM for years. But we also
30
now
seconds.
have our own microscopy core at LJI, which is La Jolla Institute for Immunology, and we hope to do more.
Okay, perfect. So you'll pass that to Agnes. Well, I shouldn't have done it. I did what I said I wouldn't do. Next person.
Hi, I'm Agnes Baroninge. I'm from University of Oxford in UK. I'm a final year DPhil student in Professor Liz Carpenter's group. Our group works on membrane proteins, and I have actually two projects. I'm looking after a solute transporter, which is my cryo-EM project, my main project, and also I do work on ion channel. That's more of a crystallography project. So what I'm hoping to get out of this course is, even though I'm from Oxford and we have a lot of access to cryo-EM facilities, we have two separate sort of centers within Oxford. It's actually not that easy to get training because everyone assumes that all the groups have their experts and they're going to teach you. So all my teaching mostly is someone showing me things and being, this is how we do
30
it.
seconds.
So I really hope to get answers to why is it that way that we do it. Yeah.
Okay. Next person. Okay, and go. Please stand.
Yes. So my name is Irina, and I am working with this, not with the cat actually, but with what it's chewing on. This is a plush version of Trypanosoma brucei, which is the parasite I'm working with. It's a disease-causing agent of human African trypanosomiasis, and I am working with this part here, which we believe to look like this. It's a tripartite attachment complex, which is the mitochondrial DNA segregation machinery of the parasite. It's the thing in shaded green here. And I'm working with something here, and something here, but also with the whole thing. So what I'm doing during my PhD project is that I do single particle analysis of two tag components, single particle analysis of one mitochondrial DNA replication factor, and cryo-electron tomography of the whole tag. And once I'm done with that, I want to map the single particle structures into the tomograms to get as much resolution
30
as
seconds.
possible. And if you're ever looking for me, you can find me here. This is the Institute of Anatomy in the University of Bern in Switzerland.
Okay, perfect. Me saying 30 seconds really does it because you're almost there in time. Okay.
Okay. Hello, my name is Christiane. I'm a postdoc at Brown. Okay. So our lab is basically interested in two things. One is DNA damage repair, via transcription coupled DNA damage repair, and stress response. And we use E. coli as a model system. So during stress, you want to make sure that you express stress response related genes, but during normal growth, you want to make sure that these genes don't get translated. So in E. coli, it works like this. We have an adapter protein called RSSB that can get phosphorylated. That binds a sigma factor that is responsible for targeting RNA polymerase to stress response genes. Once it's bound by the RSSB complex, is targeted to degradation by the ClipXB complex, and RSSB gets recycled. During stress conditions, RSSB is basically bound by
30 seconds.
anti-adapter proteins, and it can't bind sigma S. It will get incorporated into RNA polymerase, and then it can do its stuff. So we are mostly a structure like an X-ray crystallography lab. So we've solved structures of RSSB with a few of the anti-adapter proteins, but what we're now interested in getting the whole RSSB sigma S ClipXB large protein complex to figure out how that works.
Okay, great. Time. Okay. That's no slides, but you can stand.
So my name is Eleonora, and I just moved in the Belgrano Medical College in February, and I'm in the laboratory of Accardi, and our research is focused on the study of scramblases that are protein involved in transport lipids from the inner to the outer ligand of the membranes. And in particular, we are focusing on the TMAC16 family, and we are looking to characterize other structure of TMAC16 protein. And so I'm excited to learn more about cryo-EM.
Okay, great. Next person.
Wait, how do I?
It's just
Let's
down. Yeah.
go down.
Okay. All right, thanks. Okay, so hi, I'm Sarah Dorr from Michigan State University. And basically what we study in my lab is bacterial viruses and how they interact with their host. And a subset of the lab also does some more real structural stuff than what I do, but I'm hoping to get into the structure a little bit more. So we look at how these viruses interact with their hosts. We study the gram-negative bacteria, Shigella flexneri, which is also a human pathogen. And we look at how the phage interacts with the lipopolysaccharide on the exterior surface and also some of the membrane proteins. And then here, this is like the real structural stuff. So this structure was solved by another postdoc in the lab, but it's a virus that I'm interested in continuing to work with. So this has unusual capsid geometry. If you know anything about virus structure, I'd be happy to tell you about it otherwise. But basically we're interested in looking at getting higher resolution structures of the capsid, the mature virion, the procapsid,
30 seconds.
and also the ejected particles. Potentially also of the tail, but that is a little bit more difficult. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, next person. It's almost like it's all in the rip.
Hello, I'm Andrew Grissetti. I'm a postdoc at MIT in Joey Davis's lab. So the main focus of the lab is autophagy, and particularly structural analysis of the macromolecular complexes involved in autophagy. So just briefly, autophagy is a ubiquitous eukaryotic recycling process wherein cytosolic cargo, which is just geometric shapes in various colors depicted on that slide, are encapsulated by a de novo synthesized membrane and carried to the lysosome or vacuole, depending on your favorite eukaryote, and then degraded to replenish sort of precursor nutrients to starved cells. And one complex in particular, on the left-hand side of the slide, that PI3 kinase complex, is a heterotetramer, and we're really interested in its structure and its dynamics. They're on the
30
far,
seconds.
Thanks. On the far right, that PubMed ID is a class average of a cross-linked version of the complex, and we really want a non-cross-linked version so that we can understand its conformational heterogeneity using an algorithm developed in the lab. Sorry, I did that.
Okay, next.
So I'm Sissy Khalai. I'm a postdoc at the EMBL in Grenoble. Just a picture of our campus. The big green right there is the synchrotron, ESRF, and EMBL is right next door. And we also have a nuclear reactor on site. And on the background you can see the French Alps. So we work on RNA polymerase from the influenza virus. So this enzyme, when in the host cells, does both transcription and replication of the viral genome segments. So our lab is doing more single particle cryolium analysis. It used to be an X-ray crystallography lab, and I did crystallography before. Yeah, we just purify protein from insect cells and try to analyze various states of the polymerase as it goes from initiation to elongation to termination. We do this by playing around with the RNA template, use different kind of nucleotide combinations and analogs, and try to track
30 seconds.
A particular conformation state on the cryo-EM grid. So we have the advantage that we can get multiple states of the protein on the same grid. Yeah, I'm trying to understand RNA replication by this polymerase more, and I am very excited to be here, and I hope to learn more about using the microscope itself and more the data processing parts.
Next, there we go.
Hi, my name is Soil Koshevis. I come from Emory University. I should have slides, actually, in Atlanta. I'm also one of the many crystallographers who are converting to electron microscopy these days. What we study in the lab are RNA protein complexes, how they are built and how they function. So the biggest RNA protein complex of the cell is the ribosome, which has small subunit, large subunit, two giant rRNA molecules, and a lot of ribosomal proteins. So how these come together and how they function. So the RNA component of the ribosome actually gets heavily modified both post-transcriptionally and also co-transcriptionally, and those modifications are required for the proper function of the ribosome. So that's what we are interested in. Why are those modifications important? How do they affect the function of the ribosome? And to answer that question, we have generated these hypo-modified ribosomes, and we are trying to, so we study them biochemically, but we are also trying to understand them at the level of structure. So what structural features they have, which makes them different from the normal ribosomes. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kyle Craig. I'm a postdoc at Virginia Commonwealth University. Well, no, I didn't realize that. I just started there. Before I started at Virginia Commonwealth, I was in X-ray crystallography and molecular docking lab, where we studied we were developing dual targeting compounds for the lipid A biosynthesis pathway. And also I was working on developing structures and targeting sulfatyrosine binding sites on chemokines using X-ray crystallography. However, now that I'm at VCU, I now work with lipid-protein interactions and studying those at the structural level, specifically working with ACRB and TSPO.
30
and,
seconds.
Also, although the TSPO is more crystallography-based project, ACRB and proton ATPase projects are more EM-based. And yeah. So.
Very good. Down.
So I'm David Link. I'm a research scientist at Iowa State University in Amy and Joaquin's lab. And we work on this gluten tyrosine kinase. So it has 3 domains, but so there are some crystal structure of the individual domains, and also maybe the SS2 kinase domains. But like we have trouble like getting the full length crystal structure, and where this PSQS domain is hard to. It's the protein itself in solution is very dynamic. So crystal structure we'll be able to get the autoinhibit structure, but in the solution it's actually there are so many different conformations. So we want to study, and where this PSTH domain binds are uncertain. And upon PIP3 activation, it opens up the protein from MMR and the HD exchange. We know it opens up the protein and it forms this dimer, but there's really no structure information at all. So we are looking into using cryo-EM to see if we can see sort of some stable conformation.
So my name is Maria. So the last year, what I've been doing is moving a lot, basically. So I finished my PhD in Germany, and I moved to Paris to join the group of Nicolas Reyes as a postdoc. But while I joined, they were basically packing and moving to Bordeaux. That's where we are located at the moment, in this institute, the European Institute of Chemistry and Biology. So we are mostly interested in characterizing human membrane proteins, basically nutrient uptake systems. Usually they are small proteins. To make them a bit bigger, we form complexes with other relevant biological partners. And I had one of these proteins that magically worked. I put it in a grid and it just looked super nice. But now I'm really struggling with the data analysis. So I've been going back and forth through Lion, CryoSpark, getting a lot of errors, spending a lot of time checking what they mean.
30 seconds.
And yeah, basically at the moment I'm kind of stuck in models of 6-7 angstrom that I actually don't know how to improve them any further. So I don't know if basically it's me, it's the data, and I'm actually at that point and hopefully willing to get out of this struggle during this course and hopefully get some ideas on how to deal with my data better.
Hi, I'm Smriti. I'm a postdoc in Peter Walter's lab at UCSF. This is our lab right here. The cat is not part of the lab, she's just visiting. So I'm also a convert from X-ray crystallography, which I did at UCLA as a graduate student in David Eisenberg's lab. And as a postdoc, I'm looking at co-translational protein targeting at the ER membrane. So at the ER membrane, the green side is the luminal side. So normally all translated and secreted proteins, transmembrane and secreted proteins fold in the ER. And the translated polypeptide chain is translocated into the lumen through the Sec61 translocon. So what we were really interested in was this pink protein called IRE1 it acts like a gatekeeper of the ER, and it senses protein misfolding stress in the ER and then initiates a corrective action.
30 seconds.
And so IRE, we found that it binds to the ribosomes as well as the translocon. And so some of the questions that I'm now interested in is how does IRE interact with the co-translational machinery? What does active IRE1 look like, and how do these interactions change under stress? And I did some pull downs. I see everything, and I do see ribosomes when I pull down against IRE1. So that's the next step.
Okay.
Hi,
No slides.
Yeah, no slides. I'm Kai Sahusky. I'm from The Ohio State University. I'm a fourth-year graduate student in Mark Foster's lab. We typically use NMR to study structural biology, dynamics, and structure of many different protein systems. I currently have 3 projects involving cryo-EM. The first is of a small ring-shaped protein called TRAP. It looks like a donut. It's about 110 kilodaltons, so it's really small. And we're looking at, it binds tryptophan, has like 11 binding sites, or 12, depending on what species you pick. But looking to see allosteric effects due to the tryptophan binding using cryo-EM. And these things are lost from like crystal packing artifacts, so we need a method that allows us to capture the unique states. Second, I'm looking at using Cre recombinase and looking at assembly intermediates, which is protein DNA assembly intermediates, and then RNase P, which is used to mature the 5' ends of mRNA, or tRNA, sorry, not mRNA.
30 seconds.
And using cryo-EM to study the assembly intermediates, it's a large RNA that's like 220 kilodaltons, and then it has a bunch of small proteins that bind to it and modify the shape, and so we're going to look at the assembly process of that using cryo-EM.
No slides for this one either.
Yeah.
No slides? Okay. I'll say it.
So,
Okay.
My name is Karthikeyan Subramanian. The short name is Karthik. Basically, I'm from India. I have my own lab, crystallographic lab, and we are working on the proteins involved in antibiotic drug target. And I want to learn this cryo-EM and establish the facility in India, back in India. Currently, I'm in West Virginia University as a sabbatical, and we are working on a disc membrane protein, which is in retina, so suitable for cryo.
Great.
Yes, okay. Hi, I'm Francesca. I'm a postdoc at Columbia University in Oliver Clark Lab. I started my journey in structural biology as a crystallographer. To be honest, I'm not a good crystallographer, but good in biochemistry. So after, so I solved a couple of structures, but then on that day I decided to move on membrane protein. And unfortunately, in Italy there wasn't any cryo-EM microscope. So in September I moved on New York. Here I study membrane proteins, but it's a hard period for me because I discovered, for the first time, for example, terminal. That is terrible. Spark, okay. But I hope that would be better in the future. In particular because I think that here there is one of the best center for cryo-EM, so I hope that the future will be full of light.
Okay.
Hi everyone, I'm Zichu. I'm postdoc at the University of Iowa. But we are in a protein and crystal facility, so it's a core facility open to all the research group within the university and also outside the university. So we are core facility mostly focused on the protein productions, and then crystallize the protein, salt structure is crystallography, and also do some small angle X-ray scattering. So right now we are working on multiple projects, and some projects can be solved by spectrography. Some other projects is flexible and big enough, so need to jump into the EM parts. And then I want to show you one of the projects. But unfortunately, I cannot give you the name of the protein because I don't get permission from PI. So that protein for N-terminal has a beautiful ring shape. It's a nanomer and salt pressure. And we try to determine the full-length protein and also how to determine the length protein interaction with the DNA. So we already did some kind of lectin stain and EMs,
30 seconds.
and we can literally do the 2D classification to identify the ring, and then multiple rounds of the 2D classification, we can identify the average to show in nanometers. So that's jump from the internal to full length. So we try to operate once, but the prefer augmentation. So that's some issue we want to focus on. Thank you.
Okay, actually, we have one other. This is amazing that all the animations and builds actually worked out. So we have one other person that you'll have to introduce yourself.
Sure.
And go for that.
Hi, I'm Christina Zmani. I'm a scientist actually here at New York Structural Biology Center. I've actually worked here as a scientist for 3 years now in a group that does independent research, and we were using structural biology and the resources of the center to look at proteins involved in different neurological disease. But as of today, officially, I'm now a member of SEMSI. So I'm switching groups, and my main role at SEMSI will be as sort of the liaison for the visiting embedded scientists. So people coming here for longer term cross-training activities, it will sort of be my job to make sure they're actually achieving their training goals while we're here at the center. So I'm here in the course sort of to bring myself up to speed in EM. I'm also came from a crystallography background, but also, you know, sort of to learn more about the course and be involved in sort of development of teaching and outreach activities as well.
Okay, all of you did it in under 90 seconds. Congratulations, everyone. Okay, so why did we do this? Now you've been given a chance to speak, and why does baton toss? Because throughout the week we'll be relying on each other, we'll be making use of each other's intellect, resources, and eyes, definitely. So a couple more people. Alina is in back, raise her hand. She's here to help you. I'm here to help you, and another person, Kathleen. So if you have any questions, I know some of you had some personal questions, there would be a great point of contact to resolve any of those other issues. So we'll break for lunch, and we'll continue on the discussion. Now that you've now spoken a little bit, now you can actually speak more with each other. And the 18 people that said they didn't know each other, hopefully will know each other, definitely if not by today, by the end of the week. Okay, so if you can follow Alina, we'll break for lunch. We have the conference room for the day. We'll be returning back, so you don't have to schlep your stuff back and forth. You can leave it here. If you have additional coats, we have a coat rack out there.
And just keep this here.
You can keep that there, by all means. We have the room. Oh yes, you have to get. Thank you. I think we kept almost on time.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I missed Joachim's lecture at lab stuff.
Oh well, yeah, I think you've seen it.
Probably a dozen times. But
best practice is you never do this. I did it.
I like that, yeah.
And so we should basically prove like 6 things or something that people say you should.
Don't, yeah,
like,
I shouldn't do that.
Particle should be this. The density
No
should be this. Ice thickness should be this. Like tilt should be that. Like I think if Misha just collected one image like at like 60-degree tilt, he still would have been able to do that. Like,
I don't know. This again, it's not a perfect sample. So.
What particle was it?
I say preferred.
Okay, very
it wasn't the magic. It was just a normal.
It was the normal horse I preferred.
Oh, cool.
A lot of the
I
time.
have a lot of bad images and bad samples.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
He's the man.
Hey, bad samples is a problem. Bad images is not necessarily a problem. Bad sample is a problem. I always have a fallback. I can say, hey, go back to the bench and do my job. Something is wrong. But yeah, a lot of things we showed here, like, a lot of people worry about, like, having very crowded samples. That's actually good in a lot of cases. Or having, like, too thick of an ice, but if your particle is big enough, thick ice is not a problem because you can do per particle CTF estimation, you can get over that thing, so. Or if you have a lot of astigmatism, that's actually a good thing sometimes. Astigmatism doesn't bother anyone. What you have is a gradient of defocus built into your image. That's not a bad thing, it's an okay thing.
Have you guys ever collected multi-faceplate images
Oh
here?
yeah, we did VPP for probably, it was popular for like a couple years and then it kind of tapered off.
Did you guys ever have problems where you don't see the CTF, the tone rings, to fit?
If you're too close to focus, yeah, then you won't see that. But we don't use multi-face plates anymore also.
We don't, but I have a colleague who has a data set and the images look great. It did what it's supposed to do, increase contrast, but you know, we don't see any strong signal for a tone ring, so I don't know how to fit his CTF.
Then just don't.
Yeah.
Because, so
that's
you
what
will
we've
not
done so far.
You will not see tone rings if you are at focus plus 90 degrees phase shift from a faceplate. If you got that perfectly right, then there will be no tone rings, and you just process without CTF correction.
But you would imagine, like, throughout the variance of the, you know, even a small variance in defocus, you could probably see some tone rings, but I can't see anything in his image.
Yeah, you should be able.
Yeah.
Especially with a phase generation, it's never perfect phase, right? So it's always some offset. You should be able to see it. I don't know.
So, yeah, that's how I feel about the whole data set. I don't know what to do. Yeah. So.
Oh, it's 14 more minutes, so we have time.
Oh, it only starts at
140. 140.
140.
Yeah, there's still time, right?
Yeah.
Let me check.
Okay.
Yeah, there's still. Actually, it's 1:30.
1:30?
But yeah.
Okay, so.
I think.
Oh, people are still coming.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get out.
It's not like we're promoting ourselves, but we
Like, I recognize it, but you know.
Let's see. If your space, there's space.
Yeah, I think I would just keep my coat with me.
Yeah, I am too. That's why I brought this jacket.
All right.
Do you mind if we sit down, or do you want us to stand up and present?
No, that's fine. I'll just be standing for a second. We still have how many minutes? A couple minutes.
There's still some.
3 minutes. And then the question is, we'll have to take a poll. I don't know how many people want to come over. The rest of the people can hang out here or and queue up and get ready.
Queue up, yeah. I was
Yeah.
thinking in that like room where we had lunch.
Yes.
People who want to try it, we can
Yeah.
kind of shuffle in by 4s or 5s.
Okay. We'll do a timing of every 15 minutes.
Okay. Yeah.
Or 10 minutes, and then depends, because right after the break we have the practicals,
Mm-hmm.
which we'll meet back here. You actually say your name, Jahwe?
Jahwe, yep.
I mispronounced it already.
Right, you pronounced it very well.
Thank you for being so kind. I know I'm probably butchering it.
So till 2:30. Okay.
And then we'll have a pretty intensive round of practice. But there might be something that we could do is
We can end at 30 minutes.
yes, and then what we can do is I didn't mention it. I'll mention it at the end of all the practicals. We do have a happy hour. Well, I'll tell everyone soon, and it'll be in that area. And then if you leave your rigs still set up, we could also get more time over.
Sure.
That would be more fun.
Maybe more.
Yeah.
We're just waiting for a couple stragglers. So I'll begin with some announcements. Let's see.
Well-
probably finish 10 minutes earlier and then let people start.
Sure, why not?
Start the stream soon, but a
So
couple
we can-
announcements. I failed, it's not in the agenda, but since this is the first day that everyone's here, at 6 p.m., you might have noticed in the refrigerator there's additional drinks that wasn't for lunch, and that's because it's going to be for a happy hour. So whether you drink spiked seltzer, beer, or just soda, it's also in there. That's fine. You're just water. So after the craziness of this afternoon of all these practicals, then we'll try to take a breath and see how everything goes. Something that we didn't give enough time for, and Brenda, as soon as I introduce the speakers, will mention more. We wanted to get you some more contact time with the Cryo VR system, and what better thing to do than drink and do Cryo VR, right? You're gonna be so much more proficient at all the tasks. You better believe it. Okay, so is it time to start the stream? Okay.
Yep.
Great. Yes, let's close there. Unfortunately, we'll suffer through the stuffiness. We'll try to get it better for the next practicals. It's just that we have a lot going on, and one advantage of being all in one room is there's a lot of energy, versus, let's say, that seminar style. Okay, we're live. So good afternoon, and welcome to NCCAT's Single Particle Short Course. We're here in New York City at the New York Structural Biology Center. I mentioned a little bit about the NIH Transformative High Resolution Cryo-EM program, and something that the service centers are doing. They're partnering with the curriculum development sites, because together what we want to do is really ensure that the next set of biomedical researchers, the next generation, is trained. We have members, we have Brenda Gonzalez and Jiahui Dong from Purdue that's working with the Cryo VR team. And really part of their goal is to create training tools for learning cryo-EM. And this is a really topical topic, because what we mentioned during the previous lecturer's talk was the price point of instruments and accessing instruments, and you're just really trying to understand how things work. And that can be prohibitive if you have to travel all the way here to New York or across the country, let's say to Purdue or Stanford, to touch any cryo-EM instrumentation. So one way to lower the barriers is to give you training materials that you can make use of. And without further ado, Jiahui and Brenda.
Okay, awesome. So my name is Brenda Gonzalez. I'm a fourth year PhD student at Purdue. And today we're going to talk to you about Cryo VR. I want to introduce you briefly to my colleague Jiahui, so he can tell you a little bit about himself.
Hello, my name is Jiahui, and I'm from Computer Technology Department, and which in the Polytech Institute in Purdue University.
Okay, great. So I do want to remind everybody, just as Ed said, we are part of a team, but here we're going to talk to you about that, about our project. So just keep in mind, it's not just us. We have a whole team of people that have helped us develop these tools. So without further ado, before I introduce you to the actual VR project, I want to tell you a little bit about why VR and, you know, the state of training right now in cryo-EM in general. So this is a plot I just made to show you from the protein database online structures that have been released, categorized by different methods, and that really, really overpowering red line is not EM, it is X-ray crystallography. So NMR and EM look like they're, you know, really down there on this plot, but if we zoom in on 2008 to 2018, then you see there's a pattern. There's an exponential increase in the structures being deposited by EM. And that, you know, coupled with the popularity and the recognition that EM has received, and you guys actually saw a lecture from Joachim Frank today, has really garnered a lot of attention for cryo-EM. And naturally, this increased interest in cryo-EM goes along with an increased demand for training. So there's only a small pool right now of people who really are like the core group of people who can train the next generation of scientists. And there's a big demand for training in cryo-EM right now. So in our group, we thought that virtual reality training tools could be a great way to bridge this gap, because, you know, we don't really want to limit it to manpower. There's some studies that I did before to try to research the ratio of trainer to trainee and it's like impossibly, impractical. So we thought that having a virtual trainer, having a virtual environment could have lots of benefits. And that's where we started the idea of the cryo VR. Cryo meaning like we want to simulate all of the steps in cryo-EM, and VR, our virtual reality. So as Edeng has said before, we're partly funded by the NIH, who gave out many grants, some of them being to centers like this one, but also some to develop a curriculum for cryo-EM training. Okay, then I'll pass it on to Jiahui.
Yep. So one reason we chose VR as our own method for the training is because it's due to its flexibility in different areas. With the increasing of the current demand of virtual reality, now the VR can be used in different areas, such as education, and also for virtual decoration, the VR games, the driving simulation, as well as some medical surgery simulation, and also some tourism. In 2018, the Deloitte company gave a high rating of the virtual reality in training area compared with some traditional training method. They thought that the virtual reality in training area have a lot of advantages here, which based on our experience, the 3 main advantages for the VR training are listed below. The first one is that the VR training can bring a very realistic scenarios. It can let the participants learn their knowledge in a more efficient way, and also they can have fun at the same time. And the second one is that the virtual training can be done remotely. It saves a lot of money and time. You know that when we do some real training, we need to set a bunch of devices, and we can only let one participant to try the real training at the same time. But try to imagine that if we have several different VR devices, we can even let the participants to try to train themselves even in their own house. It saves a lot. I think it saves a lot of time. Yeah. And the third one is more important. And with the virtual training, you don't need to suffer the risk of damaging the devices and also the safety hazard. I'll say. So I don't belong to this biology department. I'm from CGT, but I know that some of the devices are very expensive. They can cost like $1,000 or even millions of dollars, right? So I don't think I don't think any institute or any person can afford too many damages on these devices. But the worst thing is that we also don't want to see the participant got injured by themselves by those dangerous elements such like liquid nitrogen, such as ethane or something like this. But with the virtual reality training, you can learn the lessons while you made mistakes in those virtual reality. It's allowed. It won't cause any physical damage to you. And with these lessons, it will prevent you from making further similar mistakes in the future real training. I mean, personally speaking, the only damage the virtual reality training may cause is that the build of the helmet may ruin your hairstyle. And yeah, no one.
Okay. And then this all seems great and well, but even when I first learned about this project, and I kind of had the idea like, who is doing VR training? How realistic is this to put this into practice? And we're actually kind of late in the game because people who are pilots do virtual simulations of flights all the time. And there's this company, just casually searching online for virtual reality training, also VR, has some really great tools. And their justification for using VR to help train doctors is that, it's not like every day you can walk into the office and do a knee replacement surgery. So having these tools can't really simulate really well those fine movements that doctors may have to do during surgery, but at least they can refresh their memory on the procedures and feel more confident approaching the real surgery, in the future. So again, this simulates the environment of an operating room. It's more immersive, and there's a hands-on component. So we think that, and there's more data leading up to this in other fields, having VR can help you with your learning retention. So this is just to show you a small clip about their company.
It was with this knowledge, my background became involved with that. I went to OSO VR, which is a surgical training Most of VR allows you to practice modern surgical techniques anytime, anywhere, in a hands-on manner.
We can bring new surgical techniques.
Okay, so you can kind of see they're using these tools not to simulate the really fine motor skills, but to really nail down the procedure and help the doctors remember what they're going to do for their important surgeries. So taking all of this information, we had the idea already that we wanted to do VR, some sort of training element with VR and apply it to cryo-EM. So the question was, where do we begin? And I kind of just briefly split up EM as I thought of it in 3 different main categories. First, we have sample preparation, which is super critical. This involves plunge freezing, and we learned a little bit about that in today's workshop in the morning. There's also screening, so as Ed was saying, in the classical methods for cryo-EM, you want to do some screening that might involve negative stain. And also some institutions have microscopes that are side entry holders, and data collection, so you can collect on a fancier instrument with your real data set. All of these procedures involve lots of equipment, lots of hands-on movements with things that are very expensive. So we thought the sample preparation would be a really great stage to start at because it's lots of moving parts. If you've ever done sample freezing, it's not just one instrument. You have a ton of auxiliary equipment around you that you also need to interact with. So in this picture, I have the Gatan CP3, and I noticed that Joaquin Frank also showed this. So it's a more automated way to do your sample preparation. It's still, I think, really a basic machine. I'll tell you a little bit about it. And the reason we started with the Gatan CP3 is that that is the most popular and basically the only instrument we had for freezing at Purdue. And I knew how to use it. So for the preparation, the idea is you have ethane, and that's cooled down to a point where you can create vitreous ice. And some components of this machine, it has a humidity chamber, and a lot of it's digitally controlled for your blotting. And the idea of it's very simple. You have your tweezer, and secured to that is your grid, so your sample platform, and you insert that on a plunger. And then through a timed method, you can press a button, and that plunger will, by gravity, go down and plunge into the ethane cup and vitrify your sample. And on this far right, this is basically what he showed today in lecture as well. The whole goal is, I think of this kind of like the Goldilocks issue. You don't want your ice to be too thick. You don't want it to be too thin. So you just use this machine over and over until you get your ideal ice. And the ideal ice will get you great contrast. And this is assuming a single particle project. So this is just to give you a brief overview. And when we approach this problem of how to simulate the CP3, we try to incorporate all of these steps. And this is just an example, a screenshot of what we made for our first module. So we started making the CP3 module, and we included things not only like the CP3 you see here, but all these other things that when I first started, I didn't realize how many auxiliary pieces of equipment you need. Think about like tweezers you need for handling storage post-freezing. You need your liquid nitrogen dewars, air, ethane, all of those things are included. And in a way, I thought it was quite cumbersome to make this in VR, but it's also great because I would think a user who was first trying out freezing grids with the CP3 would rather mess up in VR and at least like get a refresher as to how many things you're handling than to just throw them into the real environment where they could possibly damage the tweezers or mess up their sample. So I'll let Joffrey talk a little bit about this.
And here's about the CP3 VR simulation. So this is a long progress, so we made some video clip here. Maybe we can... as you can see here, we try to simulate the real experiment as vivid as possible. And here are some samples. Here's the preparation part of it. And if we jump later.
Good job. Now add some
You'll see
liquid
here.
nitrogen to the
Yeah.
station is cooling down.
So you can hear sounds, that kind of, it's
Mhm.
really a game, right?
Mhm.
So you can hear sounds, you see, we try to add, and when we first started, we didn't have any of those elements. Like it was just voice guided, but we started trying to test this out on users, and they really wanted those game-like features. So the arrows pointing you to stuff. If you're a gamer, this might be really something you're used to. But highlights, you know, like in that also VR video we were showing, they had a highlight where the equipment was going to go. We're doing that now, and also the voice-guided thing is something we had at I think like a month ago or something. So yeah, we'll continue.
Right. But I mean, after we kind of finished the whole procedure of the CP3, we realized that the visual bar system is more popular in this cryo-EM area. So that's why our next goal is to start to simulate the whole virtual bar system here. I should admit that at the first time, we started this project about 6 months ago, and at that time we don't have a real virtual bar equipment in the lab. So that's why we try our best to collect the data available online, the video available online, and we were given a lot of valuable suggestion from those people who are familiar with virtual bar, but also are interested in our project. So yeah, still we learned a lot during the time we developed the CP3 project, and we collect all the comments from the participants, the users, or people who are interested in it, and that's what kind of improvement or new features we added to the Visual Bar project to make it more user friendly. And for example, here are some listed features here. So the first is still the voice and text guided instructions. With those instructions, I think the user can, or for the new participants or the users can learn or can have understand of which step they're in, what kind of thing they need to do in the next. And also we have some UI guided instructions such as arrows, highlight something that we can in a fast way to tell the users what kind of device they're going to interact with. And we also have embedded videos, which we can introduce it later. And we also have the scoring system. The scoring system is still in development, but here's a general outline of it. So after you finish one trial, there will be a score that tell you kind of like the general outline of your performance for the last trial. And it can encourage you to do better. Well, and we also have different training mode available for different level users. So if you are a new person, you can select the tutorial mode, which there will be fully the voice and the text guided, and you can follow the guide to go through the whole procedure. And if you think you are sophisticated enough, you can choose the practice or even test mode to try if you are qualified with a real experiment. And also, we have some interesting thing like the playback features. It has a similar function of the scoring system. So after you finish one trial, you can go to the playback features to see what you have done in the past. And I would say it can help you to correct some mistake or correct some bad habits. Or maybe if you did something wrong in the last trial, you can figure out, why did you do it wrong? Something like this to improve your performance in the future. And here are some demonstration videos. I would say the whole procedure will last about, the virtual training, procedure of the virtual training will last about 10 to 20 minutes. To save our time, I only have some video clips here.
Uncap the liquid nitrogen doer. Then pour liquid nitrogen.
As you can see here, some of the steps are very similar to the CP3 manipulation. In these steps, we try to make it easier to interact, and we try to make the quality of the UI, the particle system, or some visual cues better in a better way.
Now pick dispensing.
And we also have that kind of simulation of the visual bar operation, automatic operation.
Pick up your sample from the yellow tube rack on the left.
As we mentioned, in this time we don't have a real virtual bar in our lab, so we tried our best to grab resources online to make it as vivid as possible.
Grab the workstation and put it on the workstation.
As you can see here, the sound, the workflow, something like this. Very interesting. Yeah, a highlight thing I think for this project is a playback system. as you can see here, is especially useful when you make some mistakes or when you have bad habit here. Never mind, this is a tracking problem. So as you can see here, if sorry, so if the participant drop the workstation for some reason, I don't know why. Maybe he didn't hold this in a stable way. And he did something right here, like he put the workstation on the platform at first instead of on the table. And during the playback system, yeah, as you can see, you can see what you did. I mean, through a third-person view, like a God view here. And I think, personally speaking, I think it will be very helpful for you to review what you did, to review all the performance you did, and to make a better improvement of your performance. And another thing interesting that since this is I'll call it a serious game because it's a game with a lot of educational purpose, but it still has some game development element. So if you want to do something really cool and show off to your friend, you can also do this kind of thing. Play something, without any bad sequence, bad result or something like this. You don't need to worry about damaging those devices, right?
Although you might get, scolded by your trainer.
Come on, this thing. We can do anything that never happens in the real world. Right after that, you will go to I think it's very interesting, or it's enjoyable to see yourself doing some crazy thing or funny things here. Oh, it's a little bit slowly. Yep, but as you can see here, you can record these videos and keep it for personally.
Yeah.
Okay, and the newest feature we added right now is we add the embedded educational videos from Grant Jason. And I know for some new users, they may get stuck in some step and they may confuse about the purpose of specific steps. Yeah, maybe I'll stop here. So that's why we added this video. So if you got confused in any steps, you can open there is a TV button here. I don't know, maybe this video record doesn't show it clearly. There's a TV button there. So if you press the TV button, the Grant Jensen will show up and help you with your confusion, right? And if you get bored, if you think you are sophisticated enough, qualified enough, or if you get bored with him, you can just pause it anytime you want. All right. But I know many of you may not have a VR equipment by yourself, so that's why we kind of make a trade-off that we make kind of like a web version. In this web version is still under development, but as you can see here, we designed the web version to let you experience the VR version, experience the VR version as well. Here's a kind of a demo. We only try to demonstrate some of the part. As you can see here, with maybe it's not big enough, but with a single click of your mouse, you can still see the animation. It will help you. We believe that it will help you have a general understanding of the whole procedure or something. In the future, we will cover all the procedure of the real experiment.
Great. So hopefully we've convinced you now, at least to try it, because it's a lot of fun. I personally find it really useful to show my family what I do without having to show them the equipment that costs thousands of millions of dollars. So you can check us out at CryoVR. We'll try to update our progress as much as we can. So it's just purdue.edu/CryoVR. And in there, we do have some of our gallery news. We'll probably put this on our news, and we will try to provide download links to versions that hopefully don't crash for you. And eventually we want to, of course, include the CryoVR Lite, which is what we call that clickable HTML compatible version of our tutorials. Yeah.
And for the software and hardware for the VR requirement, I think the software is pretty simple. You can download the Steam VR for free with this link. And for the hardware, I would say you may need a kind of relatively powerful desktop to support the Vive and also the Vive system. Though we haven't tested the limitation of the hardware, but we will recommend like a graphic card which is 1070 or higher and 16 gigabit RAM. And also the basic requirement, you need to have a HTC Vive Hamlet or Vive Pro. We test our project on both Vive Pro and Vive system, and they works both okay. Their quality are kind of equal, though I'll say the HTC Vive has a less resolution, but you can still we can still achieve our goal, which means let you have a general understanding of the whole procedure.
Okay, finally, just a teaser of what's to come. So we did start out using the plunge freezing, but we've already modeled. For example, this is the Talos side entry microscope that we have at Purdue, and we're starting to model all of the auxiliary equipment for that to try to show people how to operate other instruments in this pipeline. So we'd love to show you these things, and it's all free. It's all going to be online. We're also going to try to provide our models online in case people want to make their own demonstrations or just display models for students in class or something. So I think with that, we want to thank you. Here's a snapshot of our team. So our team is made up of students like me who are in biology, but also Jiahui, he's the main game developer, and Purdue Polytechnic. And we also have a ton of students who help us model and help let users try it out. And our PIs who are pictured up here also have provided us a ton of guidance. This has been completely a new project, and from what I understand, there's not much VR stuff out there for EM. So we're excited to keep learning, and especially we're excited to get feedback from everybody. So if you have no VR experience, it doesn't matter. You don't even need experience in EM to try out our equipment. So we have a live demo in the cryo-VR room, which is down where we ate lunch. So after this, you can find us there or at happy hour. And with that, we're happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Are you planning to bring the software and other like headsets as well, like Oculus Rift or something like this, which is also PC based?
Yeah, currently we are focusing on the HTC Vive system because based on our research, I think it's more popular. But in the future, we can have this potential idea, like put it on the Oculus or maybe a simple version even on the Google Cardboard to make it more popular, kind of like this. Yeah.
So this is always going to be sort of like a pre-training for like the real hands-on with the real machines. Have you done like trials with, I don't know, groups of students that have done this and then gone to the real machine, or just gone to the straight machine and seen how long it takes them to become efficient? And like, or are you interested in doing something like that?
Absolutely. Actually, after this, I think what we're trying to do is polish up the VitroBot as much as we can in our module, as there are still some bugs, as some of you might see. But our goal is to just finish at least that module for now, and then do a study on learning retention. So that's mainly what one of our other collaborators does. He's in education, and we'd like to, figure that out. So we're gonna probably do a small trial first at Purdue and see how that goes. But we're really interested in that.
Is there anything comparable in like in terms of your background research, like any industry or something where employees have done VR training and then real training, or just done hands-on training and seen a quantitative difference?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I think June did some studies
Kind
on that.
of. I'll say, yeah.
20% faster they pick it up, 50% faster. Like, how big is the difference?
The reason why we choose VR training is not only maybe we didn't focus on its efficiency, but currently before we did some research about how efficient the VR training is. But the result is maybe, for example, if a person did 20 minutes of video training, and then another person did kind of 20 minutes of VR training, the result may not have a significant difference. But the one thing the VR can bring here is that you can spend more than 20 minutes in the VR training and didn't get boring about it. Yeah, You can have a lot of fun at the same time you get the training, right? So that's, I think, one biggest advantages for the VR. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just to be clear, we did do he's talking about the preliminary study we've done. We did do that a couple months ago with the CP3, where we have, all together, I think we had 42 steps, and assuming there's only one way to do it, brought in people who had no lab experience and let them try this in 2 weeks, try to test their learning retention through like a procedural test, put these steps in order essentially. And we found that people who were tested in the video versus the VR made the same amount of mistakes, but voluntarily, we made the requirement 20 minutes for training, no matter what, video or VR, and most people ended up spending a lot more time on the VR just voluntarily. So I think we still need to follow up on those studies because, I feel like we should have made some controls or, could have approached the study just a little differently. So for now, at least in our project, we're not sure, but we've seen people try to spend more time in the VR, but we're not sure if that's because they're not familiar with it or if they enjoy it more, if that answers your question a little better.
Well, at the end of the day, the whole point isn't the VR, right? That's just a tool. The point is to get them making bridge. And so that should be the metric of is this having success?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have, including the break, a half an hour before we return back. So I know it's a very short time, and we probably won't get everyone to try the VR immediately, but how many people are interested right now to take a walk over?
Great.
Great, okay, so we'll try to get at least half of you there and half of you on cue, and then something to keep note of. Regardless, at 2:30, we're going to meet back here in this conference room because we're going to try to do the practicals. And I'll explain, to give you a look ahead, we're going to be broken up into 4 different groups. You can self-organize into your groups, but what will happen would be, I'll go over this more intently at 2:30. You're going to have 50 minutes at many different stations. And hopefully these stations you'll actually have to do something with your hands. So maybe you drank a little bit too much coffee today, that's okay. We'll try that. So that's a look ahead to come. So now let's try to get 4 of you who raised, how many people were really interested, who really keen? Great, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we'll have 4 more on standby. Hopefully we can get everyone back here at 2:30.
Yeah.
The rest of you can just hang out, see if Wi-Fi actually does still work for you, check your email.
Ed, we can also sit in the room if they don't want to try it and just to see it, like on the TV.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. And then the people on queue can see, there's a TV monitor so you can see what's going on. So just go, 4 I pointed out and the couple others on standby, they can go back to where we had lunch. So possible I can get a PDF version of the slides. You can take out whatever you want.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of videos, but
So that won't be, that's fine.
or we can link them too.
You can, yes, you
Make
can do
it
that.
creative less.
We need to go back then and for the PDF or something.
You can take yes, you can go do the demo first
Yeah.
and then you come back with the PDF.
I won't mind.
Let's open the doors to get some ventilation.
Oh my god.
I think we're going to do processing practicals over there.
Do you think we can get the
Projector works.
Okay.
And all those little ports inside of that table.
They're alive?
They are all live encrypted ports.
Score.
So Spot will just remove the switch over there.
Yeah.
The projector works super well. We've got it, I think, in a good position. Some people might have to turn around, but everybody will have a desk.
Yes.
The network will hopefully work pretty well.
There we go. Okay, so that works out. I was afraid that internet wasn't going to be ready, but we can get
It's a good Wi-Fi signal, but we also have, at that desk there are a dozen Ethernet ports that people can plug into. If people can actually connect via Ethernet onto their laptops.